Well, retirement is just not what it used to be. The strategies that your parents and your grandparents used don't necessarily apply in today's retirement landscape.
Here to explain how things have changed is Darrell Bryant, also known as the retirement strategist. Darrell is the president of Bryant Retirement Strategies and host of Retirement Strategies Radio on KFAB here in Omaha.
Good morning, Darrell.
Hey, Darrell.
Good weekend?
Doing well. Had a great weekend.
Good.
Fantastic. You know, we're talking about I'm sorry, were you going to add something to that?
No, only that I love the white jeans.
Thank you. I hear you own a couple pair of these white jeans too, right?
Love the white jeans, yeah.
White jeans
Yeah,
are
my
good.
son gives me a hard time every time I wear them. Yeah.
So do
wearing
our
them. Keep
viewers
wearing
with
them.
Mike and his. But I'm glad you're
I'll get a
sporting
couple
today.
emails today, yeah. Most of our parents, grandparents, it seems like they may have had the same financial advisor for most of their lives. Why do you say times have changed?
Well, times have changed quite a little bit. Think back to when, let's say, the 65-year-old's dad was retiring. You know, we work with retirees at our office. They're 60, 65, 70 years old. When the 65-year-old's dad was retiring, that was probably somewhere around 1990. Think of what was happening for that retiree at that time. Different economy, robust economy, in the middle of the longest bull run in stock market history. They probably had a pension because the 401k has only been popularized at that time for about 10 years. So they had a pension, strong Social Security, strong, probably a strong pension. They had a longer life expectancy than we have today, probably a smaller budget than they have today because of health insurance and so forth. It's much more expensive today. So a lot of things have changed, but their foundational, their foundational income was pretty secure, meaning Social Security and pension, right? And then they had limited IRAs and 401ks because they hadn't been around for so long.
I'm listening to you thinking, boy, they had it good.
They had it pretty good, and there's nothing wrong with a pension. Everybody loves a pension, and you're only going to have a pension these days, generally speaking. Unions, if you're a federal or state employee, you know, railroad guy, you know, might have a pension. Everybody else, we're on our own steam.
Yeah. What is the main difference, if you could define it for us, between the old way of retirement thinking and what you're seeing now and what you recommend now, the new way?
Well, that's a great question. The biggest difference is that whereas before our foundational income was pretty dang solid. We had this pension and Social Security, so all we had to worry about was saving toward things like inflation. We had to save or have money set aside for some discretionary spending, et cetera. So we didn't have to worry about that foundational stuff. What's happened now is we have people who are retiring, and yes, we have a lot of experience in investing with our 401ks and IRAs, but let's not confuse experience with expertise. Right? So we know what a mutual fund is, we know what an index fund is, et cetera, but that doesn't mean we really know how to navigate. And now to take it even further, we're charged at age 65 with no pension to be not only the, having been the saver, how am I supposed to transition to life after the 401k and create my own pension? I've never done that before.
Right.
And we haven't even started to talk about pension, pension maximization if we have one, Social Security maximization, a little bit safer money management, inflation adjustments, setting up pay raises over time. Am I going to run out of money? There's a lot of, you really could call it actuarial work that has to be done to set up a pension, right? So it's not a difficult thing. You can't just throw stuff in a pot and think everything's going to work out. And that's the biggest problem we have today is people are doing exactly that.
And we live in this world that's kind of an instant gratification. There's people out there that may play the stock market. They may see these big gains. It's exciting, but when you get closer to retirement, you may not want to live that way, right?
Yeah, and I would say that's probably, Mike, the number one red flag as far as an advisor that you might be working with. If you're working with a guy who says, hey, you know what, we're trying to grow some money, et cetera, you're 65 years old, had a client in the office just this week. Their biggest problem was the advisor kept pushing stuff back across the table saying, everything's fine, don't worry about it, without really any detail or any planning, right? But the biggest problem moving into retirement is what we call sequence of return risk. In other words, if that retiree whose entire retirement is based on a chunk of money, with the exception of Social Security, if we see devaluation, loss of money, early in the retirement, meaning the first 1/3, well, that covers about 8 or 10 years. So if you see steep decline in the first 1/3 of your retirement on your base values, the probability of running out of money, or what we like to call portfolio failure, just have a lot of syllables, is imminent. So you really have to set things up properly so that you have that, you can pensionize some dollars. We have some dollars that are set up for growth, but you're going to have to, you might call segmentize, or just separate those funds and earmark them for specific purposes.
But this goes back to your approach, this idea of safety first. We see that on a lot of workplaces, but you take the same approach to retirement.
Yes,
so it's all about prioritizing those elements?
Sure. When Grandpa retired, your grandpa, you know, your dad's dad, retired, he had that foundational element, right? So he could take a little bit of risk with his excess or surplus funds. But now that we have to provide that foundational income, that has to be safe. You have to pay the light bill. You have to pay your taxes. You're probably going to want to go have a taco once in a while. Those are expenses that aren't going to go away. So so it's safety first with the foundational stuff. Sure, the trip to Missouri, or how many times do we get to go and travel to see the kids, or do we get to go to Europe someday?
Can I afford to be a member at a golf club? I mean, a lot of people, when they retire, they want to do that stuff.
Yeah, and so we would call that a discretionary, purchase, right? That would be a surplus purchase in my world, whereas the foundational stuff has to be solid, and to go into retirement in any other way is pretty darn foolish.
And we have a lot of viewers out there that have been watching you, every Monday here for a while, and we know that Darrell embraces the safety-first retirement approach. And if you're nearing retirement, you want to learn more, Darrell has a special offer just for you today. If you're one of the first 15 people to call right now, Darrell's team will sit down with you, a one-on-one, for a full retirement review. The number's on the screen right there. It's 402-932-2141.
And Darrell, this is so important. While we show some information about where our viewers will find your office, a one-on-one is really the first step.
Sure. It all starts with just sitting down and saying, where are we? And it's not an intimidating appointment. It's just throw your stuff in a box here, or grab your files. Here's what we've done so far. I don't know a lot about what I'm doing, so where do we go from here? And it's actually kind of fun. You're going to find very shortly that the stress level will come down.
That's right.
And we'll get things worked out.
Leave with confidence.
Absolutely.
That's right. It starts with a phone call.
Again, you can call now to set up your personal retirement review with Darrell's team. His office books far in advance, so this is really fabulous to have these 15 appointment slots that he set aside for the first 15 callers. You can learn more about Darrell by visiting his website, DBryantRetirementStrategies.com, and don't forget to tune in to Darrell's radio show for even more retirement advice.
Yeah, that show airs Saturdays and Sundays at 8 a.m. on KFAB. Good stuff.
You wear your white jeans next week.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that.
Thanks, Darrell.
I can't wear these so next week. I can't wear them once a
you
week.
can.
All right,
It could be the Monday thing.
Monday,
I like
White
it.
Jeans Monday. Guess